So, Joe, when we were done with the Solopreneur Success Cycle soundbite episodes, we're like, let's dive into the inbound conference and what we learned there and all that jazz. It's crazy to me that we're now like 6 weeks out from inbound and we had so much content to cover with the success cycle that we're just now getting to it. How wild is it that it's already been 6-7 weeks?
It's, time just passes.
It is wild. But one of the things that came up so much, at this conference was the idea of AEO, which is AI engine optimization, kind of like a play on SEO, but it's AEO.
Is that a search engine optimization? Yeah.
Exactly. But what was interesting, Inbound is HubSpot's annual conference. And it's primarily, I don't want to say primarily, but it's largely focused on larger companies, not solo.
And pretty heavily B2B as well, not business to consumer.
Yes.
Right, business to business. But still, it still has stuff.
It does. And one of the topics that came up, like we were saying, was AEO. What we want to say, we feel like you should have the knowledge, listeners, of what AEO is and kind of the tools that you should use to implement it, or just kind of the strategy you should use. But like with SEO, and we mentioned this in our book as well, this should not be a top priority. For solopreneurs, building those relationships, really fostering connection in the human component should be number one. But if you also want to be figuring out how to optimize for AEO so that you get found in ChatGPT, Perplexity, all those other AI platforms, this gives you a little bit of an advantage from a long-term play, but this is likely not going to get you any immediate results.
Yeah, it depends on the business. I mean, a lot of solopreneurs are things like life coaches and consultants and contractors, and it isn't likely that SEO is driving a ton of their business. But maybe some solopreneurs develop apps, and if you have a very uniquely positioned app that's got a narrow niche, and when somebody searches for that thing, you might want to be able to show up in the, when you Google now, the top thing you get a lot of times is basically a description from Google about what it is you're asking, or an answer to what you're asking. And if you have the answer, it might be nice to show up there, as opposed to, even if you show up now on the list, a lot of people don't go past that. They call it zero-click search, right? You type it in, it pops up an answer, and you don't click on anything. And that worries me. I mean, just to be honest, it worries me that the motivation to create content is being reduced. But, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And I mean, and just before we kick things off, AEO think of it as like a visibility enhancer, but it shouldn't build your business. Like, I mean, this is just how you can get discovered on AI engines, AI search engines. What word am I trying to find right now? But you still have to get the foundations right before you can rely on AI to find you. So you have to know your audience clearly. You have to have a strong brand voice. You have to have that original content. You have to have your owned marketing sources like newsletters, your website, those communities that you build. So having those foundational components in place should be number one in an effort to get discovered in these new AI platforms. You can add to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, it's a way to get discovered. The tricky part is that when they do this, a lot of times, if you show up in that answer, say in Google or in Perplexity or ChatGPT, whatever, sometimes there's no link back to you, right? One of the things we love about SEO is if you do show up, they click that blue bar and boom, your website pops up. There may be a link back, there may not. So it's kind of important to think through, if you do decide you want to show up in here, you got to be saying something that not only the AI likes and wants to show people, but that the people will remember so that they can find you later. So just keep that in mind, that this whole kind of automated SEO, show up, click the link, and they're on your site, that's broken, right? Along with a lot of other stuff this is doing. But so just keep that in mind, that you want to be very memorable when you show up.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I would say clarity over cleverness in your content. So think about being more straightforward and cutting the fluff. But I don't know, Joe, are you okay if I dive into some of the takeaways of just like some pointers? will help people
Yeah,
get.
sure. I mean, sure. I mean, I've got some things I want to talk through, but yeah, do that, and then we can cover anything that maybe I feel like we didn't quite hit hard enough.
Okay. So yeah, so like I said, clarity over cleverness. And we've actually this next part, structured content is big for AEO. So like your headings, using FAQs, using bullet points in your written copy. AI scrapes well organized information higher. So actually, even for our podcast, for our show notes, I now have FAQs as part of our episodes in an effort for AI to be like, oh, well, those are questions that people might type in to ChatGPT. They're said verbatim on their website. I'm going to pull those into AI. So that's big. Authoritativeness. Did I just make up that word? Is
No,
that the word? Authoritativeness?
that's a word.
All right, it is now. We're being an authority, getting that social proof, getting those credentials. AI loves it, it scrapes all of that as well. So be an expert and be trustworthy from your audience. Be consistent with your branding across the board. AI tools check for consistency to verify the source credibility. So that's huge. And then think about topic clusters. That signals expertise to AI. So if you're a productivity coach, let's say, have multiple posts on productivity, time blocking burnout, it'll see the repetition and kind of be like, oh, they know what they're talking about. But those are some of the pointers. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think, and this is an important one that most solopreneurs aren't going to um, know about, and that is that you know there's this kind of code that you can add to your web pages or your blog pages, and it's called JSON-LD. I don't even know what that stands for, but it's basically kind of code that tells the AI very efficiently at the top of your page what the page is about, so the AI can kind of digest it. And then that's saying that you get rid of things like FAQs, because those are also good and they're good for the user, the person that's on your page. But this kind of thing is very efficiently lets AI process what's there, and it can really help you if you're trying to rank for it. You can Google this JSON-LD. There's tools out there that will kind of go through your page. I think HubSpot has one. I know Kevin Fremont, who was on our podcast a few years ago, has developed one. But there's these tools out there that will kind of go through your page, create this code. You can paste it into the header of the web page, and make your page much more attractive.
Mhm. Any others you'd want to add?
Yeah. So I guess I just want to reiterate that you want to be thinking about the machines, but don't forget about the humans, right? You want to think about the machines, and having this JSON-LD is great, but still keep creating content for people, because I think number one, you're still going to have people going to your content, and you want it to make sense for them, and number two, I'm pretty sure that the AIs are going to be looking at this AI code, so to speak, comparing it to the content, deciding whether they're coherent, and that they're going to rank it higher if it looks like good human content too, because it's that's what it's supposed to be about.
And I think the other thing that I forgot to mention is to really lean into your own research or original frameworks or methodologies, because they'll see you as a trustworthy person there as well. So like we have our smooth method now. We have the priority framework. We have the solopreneur success cycle. Having those kinds of things is also a good signal to AEO or to the AI platforms that like, oh, these guys have original ideas. I could use this as part of my recommendations of the results. So that's a big one. I would say things not to do, don't try to game the system. There isn't really a system right now. Like it's still changing in my opinion. I think anybody that thinks that there's an actual playbook right now is mistaken, because if there's one thing we know about AI, it is constantly changing. So I want to try to game anything. Again, just like SEO, don't do keyword stuffing in order to get in the results. Like SEO, it'll flag it. Uh, and I mean, like we keep saying, human connection is priority. So don't prioritize this kind of stuff over your audience relationships, your conversations. And I think the other hard thing about AEO right now is there are platforms to track it, but even those aren't down to a science. So it can't be something that you're putting all of your eggs in this one basket from a tracking standpoint, because that's also always changing. Those are my 2 cents there of like kind of red flags to avoid.
Yeah, there's not the good tools like they have for SEO that show how well you're doing, and so you kind of have to manually test it. Go into an incognito browser, um, type a question, and see whether you show up. Right, that's the way to do it right now. But I will say that the stuff like things like Answer the Public and those kinds of tools that tell you what people are searching for, that can still be a powerful way to decide what kind of content you might want to create. Right, that's not gone. It's just that once you've done that, you need your content to kind of have this kind of AEO friendliness that we never thought about before.
Mhm. Exactly. Well, to wrap up, human connection always, but could be a good long-term play, but just don't rely on it as your sole marketing tactic. Anything else?
That's it for me.
All right, listeners. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, leave that 5-star review, share this episode with a friend, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.